Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Music Lab podcast. My name is Dogg, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you for another episode of the podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us, that helps the bands, artists, and owners like today. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear RAR. So, ladies and gentlemen, today I have Mr. Brad Zerman. He is not a weatherman, he is not forecasting weather, he is outside his own business. Welcome, Mr. Brad.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Doc. I'm right outside here in Danville, Illinois, at the border of Indiana, and we built a 6,500 square foot music and cannabis shop. We are in the parking lot because features to our product help bring in business and make a fun environment. So, like right here, we have on the weekends a local food truck called Berserkers, and we're working on trying to get them here every day for lunch and for dinner, 7 days a week. So we're working on a strategy to make that happen. And then we bought 3 picnic tables that are going to get installed right out here in the grass with umbrellas that are going to say 7 Point and Berserkers on the umbrellas. So kind of like, like maybe a bar feel where you go to a bar and there's a bunch of outdoor seating with umbrellas of beer companies and whatnot. And then in this interior part of our parking lot, we're planning on setting up 10 tents and having like a little market. So during the winter, we partnered with the Danville Farmers Market in our soon-to-be lounge right here. And we had about 10 or 12 vendors in there a couple Saturdays a month for 6 months. And then it went very well. So we thought about bringing that market outside while it's nice out and using back from the winter and some new ones. So we have like purple tents, 10 purple tents coming with like this logo of the Danville Farmers Market, mini market, they called it. And so, we're going to set that up this month too. So that's why we started outside, just so I could show you around like some things that are happening this month. But the other reason why I wanted to show you was because we hired Ames Brothers, who is a design firm in Seattle that is one of the principals is the bass player of Pearl Jam's brother, Barry Ament. And they designed a 2,000 square foot mural with like, weed and, kind of like space and music in mind. And so it starts on the awning that I'm showing you right now around the whole building. So I just want to like walk you around outside so you can check that out because, you could see it.
That is one of a kind, my friend.
Yes, it truly is one of a kind.
Yeah.
And then the other interesting part about it, in the future, we're going to have they have to pass this in the Illinois legislature, but eventually we're going to have drive-through so people can pick up their weed and records. And so like we have the drive-through lane. We're all ready to go. And we've got the whole booth like McDonald's where they'll serve from the window, and this is just covering up the window and the whole booth is already there.
Right.
So like while you're in the drive-through, you can look at beautiful music art.
So cool.
So yeah, they did a really nice job. It came out well and it goes through the whole store. So you'll see that in a
Have
minute when
they
I'm inside.
have they done anything like that anywhere else?
They definitely have done that. Probably not in a dispensary, but they've done it because we also hired this other Seattle or Washington based company that installed it. So like they flew out here and brought all the materials that they needed for this like wallpaper to basically go on some other product that got mounted into our ceiling. So like, it took them a few days. But they worked closely with this firm before and did this kind of stuff for them. And then we have this neon sign as well. Kind of funny.
Yeah.
So it's the we and the weed go
Yeah.
on and off.
So cool.
Um,
So how long has the store been open then?
like a little over a year. We opened on 4/20 in 2024.
Okay.
So, like a year and a half almost. And then, so I'm in the lobby now. And so, in the lobby, we have some things that we bought when the store opened, but mostly things that I brought down from my house. So, like, there was a Britney Spears signed T-shirt that was like, I guess, the first thing that you'll see of things that I collected. But then, like this pink one, a friend lent me um, to hang up, and
That's
then like some of these other ones we just bought because all the stuff that I brought is like rock and roll, and so we wanted to incorporate some other genres. And then you could see like a Donna Summer like figure in the mural,
so cool.
a bunch of asteroids and stuff. Um, so that's the lobby. So that's like this is our check-in booth.
So how many full-time employees and part-time employees do you have then?
We have about, I would say, like 25 full-time employees,
Wow.
a couple part-time.
I saw
Because
that Pearl Jam
we're open
poster
a lot.
from the United Center shows, right? That was
Mm,
last year, right?
it was, I think, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the Ames brothers signed it, so I didn't have to go wait in line at the trailer at the concert
Yeah.
to get the poster. So they sent it to me. That was really cool.
So I flew out for night two of that show at the United
Okay,
Center.
great.
It was
Uh,
awesome, man. So good.
yeah,
He had Chris Chelios come out.
of course. Yeah, well, oh, so you saw the Cholios one with where they like retired his number? I was
Yeah,
at that.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at that.
Yeah.
I have the poster for both nights. I just have one hanging in here.
Yeah.
This is they all signed this one.
So cool. Yeah, that is
Um,
a one
and
of
then,
a lifetime.
well, while we're looking at like our music art, I'll show you a few things.
Hell yeah.
So this is a U2 tour jacket they signed from 2001,
Wow.
and wait, where's
That's so cool.
so this was probably like the first thing I ever got. I went to a charity auction for my daughter's nursery school like 25 years ago, and this was there. It was like a crazy piece in this tiny
Wow.
little auction. Someone had a connection, one of the parents, and I got it. And then I started going to this charity auction, and I guess I don't want to sit down yet. I'm going to show you a couple more things.
Yeah,
So
sure.
like here's Queens of the Stone Age. I missed them in Chicago last week, but they signed the concert tickets back in 2007 when I met them.
Nice.
So that's like below the bottom of the poster. That's
Yeah.
the concert photo. I met Chris Cornell in a meet and greet, and so that's his picture, but his concert ticket is signed right below.
So Chris Cornell, my story for Chris Cornell, he is the
Yeah,
only artist that I have seen in three different iterations.
yep,
Audio Slave,
yep,
Soundgarden, and solo.
yep. And I seen like he came to Chicago a lot, and I saw him like every time he came with like different musicians all the time. You
Yeah.
know, But yeah, and then here's some other cool stuff. So this is the Rage Against the Machine signed symbol.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Here's a little Ozzy section. That's Ozzy and Rob Zombie signed that.
So
But then he,
are you
go ahead.
getting the live stream for the
I
final show?
guess, I guess, yeah. So I
It's
met
gonna
him.
be epic.
Yeah, I know. There you go. He signed the book to my wife, his autobiography.
Wow.
Um, and then you see a bottle of water at the top,
Yeah.
like a Fiji bottle of water. He threw that at the concert I was at, and it's a dented bottle of water that he drank out of.
Wow.
That's from 2007.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're putting up a few more things and trying to steal some stuff from my house, more stuff. But there was this charity auction that my wife and I went to at the Park West, which is a music venue. And Jam Productions was behind this charity that was called Rock for Kids. And they got like every musician who came into town to sign their concert posters. And then they sold them at auction um, and raised money for underprivileged kids to get year-round music lessons and keep them off the street. So it was really like a fabulous charity, and the music, was all part of it. And so every year we picked up a couple things from those auctions, and then it just made sense to have the music vibe in the dispensary. But then, with COVID and the length of time that this all took because of that, it kind of just got me thinking that, what can we do to make it even more of a music experience? And just selling records just seemed like it made sense.
Mhm.
So we've got I'm not sure exactly how many records we're selling, but we're selling probably like 200 and 250 different records. And we're just, constantly getting in the new release and re-release records. Um, and we've, sort of now I'm going to show you how we have the records set up. Should I do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So in the back of the store, we set up like a couple, like, old record store kind of vibe things with like wood and um, the majority of the genres that are smaller that don't sell as many records we have back here.
Okay.
And so like your soundtracks, jazz, R&B,
Sure.
heavy metal, electronic, here we got punk. And so we've got like the smaller genres around, in the back in these wood containers. We've got like some records on sale right here and some old reclaimed wood stuff we bought on Etsy. Um, just to, add more of the record store vibe. But
Sure.
otherwise we have like the most popular genres of like rock, pop, hip hop, and rap. Those are on the bottom racks of these display cases that are in the middle of the store. So we have like 6 of these display cases, and on the bottom rung is just all records. So, here's rock, here's more rock,
It's a lot of
and then above,
display. Hell yeah.
yeah, on the one right on the shelf right above it, we're selling like cannabis supplies and accessories. So like here's some storage cases, kind of like safes. You
Yeah.
can move around stuff, and they're smell proof and they lock up. But like, you can see we have a pretty big, record selection.
Sure.
And then, so we have these 6 racks, and there's just records around all of them at the bottom. More rock here, more accessories and stuff,
Yeah.
smoking supplies, pipes.
So what is your typical customer? Like what age, ethnicity, like what do you what are you what in the middle
It's
of
really it's really everyone. I think that we probably have more of an older crowd,
okay.
45 and up. But it's every ethnicity, race, age. We're drawing from Indianapolis mostly. So it's like, there's no weed in Indiana. So we're on the border closest to Indianapolis.
Okay.
So we're an hour and a half from Indianapolis. So like that's really our market. And we put up billboards all over the state in like certain areas where there's casinos and colleges, stuff like that. Um, but then like over here, what we did on the display cases, we have a lot of supplies and we have cannabis packaging that you can learn about the product.
Hmm.
But like here's a whole bunch of papers and cones for rolling. And then underneath we've got hip hop and rap.
Yeah.
So then what we wanted to do was we wanted to bring the experience of music and cannabis to the customers. So, basically it's all educational on the cannabis side. And then we've got like music videos and other things, with the music art to bring the music experience. But like for example, on the weed side of it, we had a medical store 10 years ago in Illinois. And so it was super educational and we wanted to be able to um, bring it up a notch. So we got this technology from this third party, and so all of our products, you could pick them up and touch them. Whereas most other stores, it's like behind glass, but it's just packaging anyway. So like, why is it behind the glass? There's
Right.
no point. So now you could pick up these products and set them on this reader, and then all the different strains of that joint. This was a pre-roll. All the different strains up here, and you could just learn about any one of them.
That's crazy. Wow.
And then you could add it to your cart and log in, and we'll get the order ready. You could then go around the store and do this at another register where there's different products that you can learn about and continue your order. And so in the middle here, we've basically like grouped together products by brand and by manufacturer and
Sure.
kept all this stuff together. But then on this wall over here, we have combined really cannabis and records into like one wall here. It's not like part of the store is a record store, part of it's a weed store. It's all integrated. So we've got like a pre-roll section, right? So it's all joints here, packs of joints, individual joints, and the same stuff where you could pick up the products and learn about them.
So
And then, here you can see we're selling speakers, we sell turntables, and then like here's the hip hop section. So now in the hip hop section, you can watch a video. The music's playing through the store or something else, but we've got these four music genres have videos, and then we've got rap and hip hop music in the section.
mhm. So do you play vinyl then in the store then or
We bought we bought a really expensive turntable, and that was our goal. But we right now like we didn't really start it up because everyone's behind the counter, too busy to be bothered with that. So it's like that's now part of our goal is now that things are settling down a little bit that we could try to pick up stuff. So we took the turntable into the shop to get it like realigned, and they have it, and we need to go back there and buy some more stuff for this lounge. And we just right now have streaming music, but yeah, we want to be playing the records that we sell in the store, and we want to have that whole speaker system back there,
right.
activated too. So these are things that we can still grow into, but also that fancy turntable, we might just bring it into the lounge at this point, because we could do listening parties and stuff like that
Yeah.
when, new albums come out. So like on this side, we basically just went from pre-rolls to hip hop, flower, then we've got pop music.
So would you say the category of marijuana that still sells the best is flower, or it's
Yeah,
now edibles and vapes and all that stuff?
flower is like 50%, and then the other 50% is divided up.
Okay.
Like here, right where we are, vapes are kind of popular, but otherwise edibles is, right there. Concentrates are kind of low for all the other categories. But
Got it.
like here, we've got the rock section with rock videos. We've got concentrates, more, products you can pick up and learn. And then we've got the country music section and the edible section. So we were talking about the post punk industrial music museum, right? So the guy's name's Martin Atkins. So what we're offering Martin Atkins is we would convert the country music section to the post punk industrial music section. And we would sell that type of music and punk. And we could run videos of him. We could put the words on the screen because he's an amazing speaker. We could run other stuff on this if we wanted to
Right.
instead of this. And we could promote, in this section, poster it up with stuff like he has. I have two Nine Inch Nails posters that I can bring in and add to any, section that he wants to contribute some stuff to also, and make it super cool with the QR code right there. Like, the TV could say literally, this is, just a small taste of what you're in for if you come to Chicago, and we're right on the interstates, 2.5 hours away. People are driving here 2 hours. So if that was something they're interested in, I think they would take advantage of that.
Yeah. So for people who are not familiar with the weed industry, explain to people how hard and difficult it is when you're able to sell it, but the federal government doesn't recognize you basically as a business.
The couple of biggest problems with that is the financial aspect of it with the tax code. So the federal tax code says that a business can't deduct expenses from their income on a tax return if it's a federally illegal business. So companies that are losing money like ours, to the government, we're profitable and paying tax. Well, all we can do is deduct is things related to our inventory, cost of goods. So that's one big thing. But then, you can't get money to grow. The banks don't want to lend you money. It's all, federal or legal. The banks are, mostly not going to lend. There's a few that are considered more pot friendly banks, and we borrowed millions from one of them, but to get this building. But that's just secured by the real estate. You can't get a business loan really from anyone. It's very difficult to grow the business without getting any capital from anywhere. And when you can get it, it's super expensive.
So before you got into this, how much did you research into like how successful or like what is the ratio of businesses that are successful in this industry?
It's a real tough business. We have a license in Michigan that we're actually trying to sell, and it's like the best location in Metro Detroit, but all the prices have eroded in Michigan multiple times now. And there's big companies that are closing up shop there, like all the time right now, going through receivership. And in Illinois, it's super competitive. I mean, we're across the street from like one of the biggest companies in the country. We're just a small independent company. We're not well funded or anything. So it's like real startup shit, you know. It's like it's a very tough business because in some states it's unlimited licenses, like Michigan, and the cities manage the contestants and like how the contests work. Versus like in Illinois, the state opens up a certain amount of licenses. They have a contest and then it's over. You know, people can't just open up stores willy nilly. But in Michigan, they can. In Massachusetts, they can because the cities are doing them whenever they feel like it. And you know, it's harder to figure out your competition if you don't know where it is,
Yeah.
and
We were
they can just come anytime.
Yeah, we were in Massachusetts a couple weekends ago for a music festival, and I was surprised that there weren't as many, like it wasn't as pervasive as I thought it was.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Massachusetts is like it's like more spread out too.
Okay.
You know, there's not that much in Boston. I don't think Boston wasn't really an early proponent of it. So then it's like, you know, I have licenses there too, and there were problems. But like, you know, the licenses were farther away from the city.
Yeah. Yeah, we were in
So
like
it's
Western Massachusetts, so
yeah,
yeah.
there's very little there probably.
Yeah.
Because it's so seasonal too.
So let's talk about concert venues near you. Do you go to shows then in Chicago, or are you going to shows in Indianapolis? Like what's your rate
I've
like
been doing
radius?
I've been doing both, kind of depending where I'm at. I missed Queens of the Stone Age in Chicago. It was their last show. They're like in the UK or Europe now, somewhere, but or soon. But I was super sick last weekend, so I couldn't do it. But they just announced that they're coming to Chicago Theater for a night in October,
Yeah.
so I'm super happy about that. But I saw Queens of the Stone Age, I think 2 years ago in the Indianapolis area at like a smaller outdoor venue. And then I saw Pearl Jam 2 years ago when I saw them in Chicago with the poster we just walked by. Queens of the Stone Age was, or Pearl Jam was playing in this outdoor venue called in Noblesville, which is outside Indianapolis, but about an hour and a half from Danville. So like I was able just to go from here to that show, and now I look for shows in the indie area because it's super easy for me. Um, but
What
I'm
is
not
the
sure what's going on there yet.
Yeah, what's the Noblesville venue like for people that have never been there?
It's an outdoor venue that's it's like not humongous, so it's really kind of cool. And in my more recent Pearl Jam days, I usually just get in the pit and up front, either through the fan club lottery or just buy tickets before the show. But the pit in the indie show was like the smallest thing I'd ever seen, and it wasn't very well sold either. It was super spacious, but it was so tiny. It was like really just this area behind me. It was like, you know, I was second row. You know, it didn't matter when you got there. There was only like 3 rows. It was very small and not filled up. And so I've seen other shows in Milwaukee from Chicago too that were like that, where it's a smaller market. There's not as many people putting themselves out to wait in line to get up front in the GA pit. Everyone's got a seat usually, you know. So you know, it's for me. It's fun to get closer and feel all the energy, and everyone's so excited. And you know what? You get guitar picks too by being close. Happens.
So have you done Summerfest then in Milwaukee, or have you just seen shows in
I
Milwaukee?
I did do Summerfest only one time, kind of recently, a couple years ago, just randomly with this other couple that we're friends with. We saw Smokey Robinson, which was only kind of funny because I sat next to him on a plane once. So I kept joking about how we could go backstage and stuff because I had a picture with them, but I didn't know him at all. Um, but but Summerfest was cool. I'm not like a big music festival person. I never really was, but I have done it. I've gone a lot with Palooza a few times, and other festivals. That have you ever heard about the Ohana one?
Mhm.
It's Eddie Vedder's
Of
out in
course. Yeah.
yeah. So I went to that a couple times, and that was really phenomenal. More for old people like me, where there's only a couple stages, and it's either one stage or the other, and whichever one you're not at, you could see on the big screen everything at that stage. So it was like really manageable, and then like you could get lucky and meet some of these guys that were in the hotel or whatever, and they were pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that festival, like what a curated lineup every year. I mean,
Yeah.
they really do a great job. And like
Hmm.
Margot Price will play, but then like, you've got like the Strokes will play. It's a little bit of
Yeah.
everything. It's
My wife now likes Lord Huron from
yeah,
Ohana.
yeah.
So we're trying to find when they're coming. But yeah, you can find good music, new music. And we saw Taylor Hawkins there starting his new band at Ohana, like, 6 months before he died. And it was like, wow, I felt so lucky that he was a singer there,
Yeah.
That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
And all the drummers from all the bands were playing back up. But yeah, there's interesting people at that event. You
So
know,
born and raised then in Chicago or in the Illinois area, or where have we traveled in
uh,
our
uh,
history?
I'm from Detroit originally,
Okay.
like the suburbs of Detroit, and then I went to college at the University of Wisconsin, and just it's only 2 hours from Chicago, so I just ended up, spending my time like during the summers in Chicago. So I've been in Chicago for a long time, and um, I live near Wrigley Field, and there's a whole bunch of music venues around where I live, like the Metro and the Riv and the Aragon, the Vic. Like I could walk to half of those. So that's good because um, there's a lot of good smaller shows, and even some of the bigger bands want to come back and play those little venues. So I don't have to go too far, but yeah, Indianapolis. I'm definitely like wanna look up and see if I can find a couple shows to go to Indy because it's really easy, and the outdoor venues are nice.
So what's your take or how much do you love Wilco?
I've never been really a Wilco fan, but I went and saw them recently, because there's kind of a new venue in Chicago called the Salt Shed.
Yeah.
It's like a couple years old. It's
Yeah.
indoor and outdoor. And Wilco came, and it's like there's a bunch of shows I'm gonna go see at Salt Shed that are gonna just be fun. Like the Pixies are coming there. Um, Garbage, I think, might be coming there. So it's like that's like right in the middle of the city, 10 minutes away, probably too. So I'll go see stuff that's maybe outside my genre, but like I'm really mostly like grunge, 90s grunge. And if you could tell from some of the pictures we're looking at, but like, and I grew up like in the '70s, really. So, and '80s, and in high school and middle school, that's all classic rock. I was obsessed with Ozzy Osbourne and Aerosmith and Zeppelin and the Doors and Hendrix, and like that's the music that I like. And Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Audio Slave and all those, you know, Queens of the Stone Age. It's just like, and Rage. It's like a little grungier, a little harder. I don't know. That's like what gets me going more. It keeps me interested in it. And a lot of that stuff I grew up with it, seeing shows in high school. My dad was really interested in live music, so like I got addicted to it, and you know figured out how I could start a business where I could wear all my weed and my concert t-shirts to work. So it's worked out well for that alone. Um, but I don't know. Also, this is like a good part of the ceiling down there too. This is like a David Bowie kind of figure.
Yeah.
Um,
So cool.
Wait, hang on.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so that goes through this whole part of the store.
Hmm.
And then this is our counter or sales counter where you check out. So either you bought your weed online on our website and you just come in and pick it up in an express lane, or you can learn more about the products. If you're not sure what you want, come in and we'll help people navigate these systems that we have and how people can learn about the products. And we're expanding that part of the store too with more of the spaces to put more products, for people to pick up and learn about.
Do you have issues with inventory then, like from purveyors, or is that not really an issue?
We're we sell a lot of cannabis, and we're buying cannabis and getting deliveries like every day. So, there's probably like 30 or 40 cannabis like manufacturers and infusers that we buy from, whether they're just like cultivators, they might make flower and some concentrates, or like there's these infusers that have licenses and they're not allowed to grow the flower, but they can buy the oil and then make gummies or vapes. And so there's a whole bunch of small independent companies. Some are social equity owned, some are, and the like we all got these licenses at the same time, whether they were you know um, growers or infusers or dispensary owners, and um, kind of like the second round of after the medical, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
I want to talk about the like the terpenes. Like we hear about
mhm.
terpenes a lot. What is a terpene? What does it do? And like what are the variants and what give us a little history on and a lesson on terpenes.
I'm going to give you more of a layman's perspective because
Perfect.
I'm not on the science side of it, but I will say that the terpenes are really the most like under underlooked at um I don't want to say ingredient, but part of a cannabis product. And the best growers have bigger percentages of terpenes versus the lower ones where the flower is just not as good. So like terpenes are found in fruits and vegetables, right? That's what gives it the smell and the flavor. And so terpenes are like a universal thing for plants, but in cannabis, there are certain ones that um like um what are they? Lineal and pineal, pinealine, and like that one smells like pine trees, and there's citrus ones and lemony ones, and some of those flowers smell like the citrus of the terpene. If there's a few percent of terpenes, more than 1 or 2%, then it's super good weed. But the problem is that a lot of people don't want to pay attention to the terpenes, and they just want to look at the percentage of THC in the cannabis. And that's just it's not directly correlated, the THC, to whether or not the pot's any good. It's really more about the terpenes are going to add the flavor and the smell and even some of the effect. But just like the flower could be loaded up with a bunch of terpenes, and that's the nice thing about buying from a legal dispensary, is that these things have been lab tested, and at least in Illinois, they're going to report the terpene percentages. You know, so you should be able to look online at the products and dig a little deeper to see, if the flowers were maybe giving it a try, even though it seems like it could be low percentage THC, maybe on the towards the 20 side, the low 20s instead of the high 20s, then but if it's loaded up with terpenes, I would at 100% give it a try because that's the part really that makes it all come together and makes you feel good too. And if and in these products like these vapes and edibles where they're infusing the product with the cannabis oil, like a jelly or gelatin, to make an infused gummy, then we have then they're pulling a lot of times all the terpenes out of the product and then injecting specialized things
Okay.
that they want, maybe different CBD compounds like CBG or CBN that have different effects for nighttime or daytime. And then, so they want to get rid of all the terpenes and start fresh and put the new stuff in. And that's, part of it too. But are the companies putting in the full spectrum terpenes that are derived from the actual cannabis plant? Or are they like commercially bought terpenes that they're not bad for you, but it's not cannabis. So, these are all like the things that, we would like to educate people on. And now that we have this lounge, and it really might be a good time we could move into the lounge and I could show you what we have going on there because we're going to open it this month.
Yeah, sure.
Um, and so like we could do a lot of educational events in this lounge, on top of music related events. And, where we, in our medical operation, we had like lunch and learns in the restaurant next door, and we would buy food and we'd have speakers that would come in and really teach people how to make edibles or how to use a concentrate. And we sell all those devices here. So, we're going to make use of all those devices in the lounge where people can use them for free. So like, they might be looking to buy something, but they don't really know how it works. It's going to be a free rental here and they could buy it if they like it.
Yeah, that's cool. So for people who are hesitant to vape, because they hear of, whatever you hear on the media or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
reassure people that vaping is probably a little healthier maybe than smoking flower, or is there any difference, or what's your take on that?
Well, with cannabis, the interesting thing about the vape is that a lot of the products are really just cannabis products, right? They're not mixed with artificial things, but some are, and it goes back to the whole terpene thing. If they're using like good products, or maybe they're not even using any products, it's just pure cannabis, right? So
Hmm.
that's like for people who are down on vaping because of the nicotine, which I totally understand. There's not really a correlation between, you know, the vaping with the nicotine versus the cannabis. It's a totally different product.
Right.
But some would say that just smoking the flower naturally would be the safest thing because it's just a natural product, but that's combustion. And so you're heating the flower at a higher temperature than you would need to vape
The oil.
to vape a cannabis cartridge or disposable pen or something, because then it's just a lower temperature. So you would think that would be safer. So I think it really just boils down to what is the product that you're using? Is it something that's supernatural and safe, or does it have a bunch of crap in there to make it taste good and to make the vapor more plentiful and all that? So then it goes back to, are you buying something in a gas station that is unregulated and from some other state or who knows what country? and versus going in a state regulated dispensary, wherever it is. And then at least you know there's a label and you can read it and you can learn about it on the screens before you buy it. Because, it does seem like some people, even though the vaping part of it, people are maybe leery about it. They're not leery about eating these gummies from, unregulated sources. But those same people are shopping at Whole Foods because they're careful what they put in their body. So it's like I don't understand any of it because people aren't really consistent with how they act. But when they come to us, we're going to teach them all that, and we're going to try to, and in this lounge, we're going to be able to have good educational classes so people could learn how to best use cannabis and cook with it, and just have fun learning about stuff. So now I'm sitting in this lounge. So this is right off the lobby that we walked into earlier. And then in this lounge, we've got some music oriented wallpaper. No surprise. More concert poster stuff.
Are you going to go see Oasis when they come to Chicago?
I don't know. I'm not a huge Oasis fan. I'm too old for
Oh
that.
man, come on.
Why are they going to be good? Where are they going to play?
We're seeing them night two of New York City.
Okay.
Yeah. It's I mean it's been 15 years, so
Okay.
I'm a little excited.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting to see live music.
Hell yeah.
So we've got on the short walls, like this is the back patio
Hmm.
that we're going to be building a little deck out here.
Sure.
So we've got like a pretty good space back here,
Yeah.
and we could even have like little shows out here. But inside, we built a stage. We got a nice wood stage. We're gonna do a different color in the front here, and then we're building furniture in here. We've got some tables here that are gonna go on the patio,
Yeah.
and we're gonna put umbrellas like we were talking about the umbrellas we're gonna do outside by the main street with the food truck, like co-branded Seven Point and Berserkers food. We're gonna big pot company called Verano sponsored our lounge, our patio, not our lounge, our patio. And so we're gonna have these tables are gonna have umbrellas that have their brands on them.
Sure.
So it's gonna be like kind of fun atmosphere where it's like a bar. We're just trying to normalize this stuff. So it's the same thing as a bar. It's just weed. But like over here, even though there's these chairs here, they don't belong here. Where I'm standing, we're building a bar. And so in the bar area, we're going to have shelves right here. Instead of liquor, there's going to be devices and bongs that people will be able to use for free.
Sure.
So we're going to have like a cool shelving thing here with that. And then in this refrigerator, we're going to be selling hemp drinks.
Yeah.
So in the store, we sell cold cannabis drinks, but we're allowed to sell the hemp drinks that are sold like in the liquor stores in the lounge in here.
And what's the
So
percentage on those?
they're different milligrams, but they range from I'd say like 3 to 5 to like 20.
Okay.
Some of them are kind of strong, but I just it seems to me like this is going to really act a lot like a bar because we're going to do all these different events like music trivia and open mic and all that. But then also the pot companies want to come in here and like give samples and stuff. So they're gonna come in and they'll set up like we could put a couple tents outside and they'll have like a dab bar out there. They'll bring concentrates and equipment and devices. And then everyone loves it because they're trying new products for free.
Yeah.
They're meeting the brand ambassadors of these companies that they love smoking their pot. They get to learn more about the products. And then it's just more like a party. It's like the when the bar liquor companies come in and give samples and tastings. And so we just met with some of these distributors. They're like beer distributors distributing the hemp drinks. And they're like, a couple of these companies are investing millions in marketing, and they're going to want to come down, do events, do giveaways
Sure.
and tastings. And we're like, whoever wants to do that, we're going to sell their product. I don't care what it tastes like. Like, let's have fun and bring in, the the vendors, and that's who the people want to meet. So we're just trying to make the experience more fun.
Are you gonna do any like NFL thing or anything? Any football?
We could 100%. Right now we had three TVs in here. There's two left, but the TVs I don't think are going to work because we're going to have booths up against the wall, and I want to have like these weed companies could be sponsors,
Sure.
and then we could put their products on the shelving where their booth is,
Hmm.
and the TVs are probably getting in the way, but what we're planning on doing is being able to use a projector
Yeah.
right there,
Yeah.
right there, and we can use a projector for games. We could have movie night. We
Yeah.
could do like funny Seth Rogen weed movies, or we could do Led Zeppelin's documentary or something. Um, and so that's like a real goal of ours to be able to bring people in here to do different fun things. There's not much going on in Danville. Um, and that will help drive, cannabis sales. It'll help build the community and with all these vendors that we're trying to work with.
Hmm.
And then we continue to do like events in the city where people come together. Like we had a tent for Juneteenth and for Pride, and it's really great because we get to meet so many people at those events that people still don't even know that we're here.
So what's the like the local music scene like in Danville? Is there a music scene, or do you really kind of have to travel to?
There really is not a local music scene because there's no real music venues here. There are in Champaign, 30 to 40 minutes from here, where like
Okay.
University of Illinois is.
Yeah.
I actually have an apartment there right now, but they do have bars that have like nightly music, but there's definitely a small music scene that we could tap into. And some of those people are customers of ours.
Sure.
And we've met the people at one of the bars here. It's the Vermilion River Beer Company. And they have some small acts. And so I met the owners through the guy from the Post Punk Museum.
Hmm.
And they are like getting single, solo, and duet artists. Not sure where they're from. Some are from the area, and we're gonna have a spot on our website like next week. We're just copying some other bars that we found where we could direct people to fill out the form online, and we could get to know them a little bit and figure out a way to get them performing in here. We have to definitely. We have some like big speakers we use outside for some streaming music when we want to make it loud outside.
Hmm.
But we're going to need some equipment in here to run games and play music. So we have to get a little advice on that. But we're 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 going to be ready to open this month sometime because there's not that much stuff to do. We already did the hard stuff.
Yeah, it'd be great to be able to open it before the summertime's over, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think by the end of July we'll have everything that we need to open.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was these air cleaners, and those are in. So
And what does one of those air cleaners cost? I can't imagine.
it looks a lot worse than it is. Actually,
Okay.
it was kind of decent. We spent about 10,000, and we got these four cleaners. And I really thought it was something different because it seemed like it would make sense to that there would be like cutouts in the roof to install exhaust and stuff like that, bring in clean air and stuff.
Right.
But they said that doesn't really work because, and I actually know this because I did it at home in a wine cellar. I put an exhaust in there. As soon as you open the exhaust, it brings in all the cold or hot air. So that wouldn't work at all in the
Right.
winter, especially here. So they're like, yeah, we use these smaller units because they're less loud, and you just spread them around the room, and it just cleans the air, and you have to change the filters. But there was nothing, there were no changes to the roof at all. There was no cutouts or anything. It's just like got to circulate, got to pass through the machine, got to filter the air, and it works. We've been using it a little bit at night.
Mhm.
Try it out and stuff. You could try it out right now.
I mean, yeah, it is like I host trivia, so it was funny when you said about doing trivia there. And one of the venues that I do is a smoking, it's a private club,
Hmm.
and their smoke machines, whatever they have, they need to upgrade because they do not work.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. Like, there's a lounge like 12 minutes from here that has like they don't have anything that's blowing or anything like that. It's like some. Can you hear it, the system now?
No, I
Well, maybe not
can't.
because I have my AirPods in,
Oh
so
yeah, it's true.
you might not hear it. But um, yeah, I'm running it.
That's crazy.
Um,
Huh.
I'm trying to see if there's anything we could smoke and test it out in here. I don't know. Do you
Yeah, you
guys
gotta
smoke
show
on
the
your
people your
podcast
product,
ever?
man.
Do you guys ever smoke on your podcast?
I do not, but I've had bands that have. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, we might have to get something.
There you go.
Um, we did another podcast in here that hasn't been released yet. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're from Chicago. It's called Effing Around.
I've not. No.
But it didn't get released yet because we had problems on the outside part of the tour. It was super windy when they were here.
So all you heard was the wind.
Yeah, so right now they're trying to fix that, and then I'm going to do a voiceover of the tour part, like
Okay.
what we did, and then we they came here and we did it inside in the lounge, and like just we all talked. There was like three of them, and we all talked. So that's kind of like um, how that worked.
Gotcha.
Hang on one second.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you going to wait here a little bit? Okay.
I gotcha.
Okay, so I'm heading back in now. Um, the the store just closed, so there was like some activity. Um, People just left the building and stuff.
Right.
Someone has to wait for me because I don't know how to lock up the building.
You're like
So that's no problem.
semisonic closing time, right?
Yeah, everyone left. But it's not illegal for me to smoke in this lounge right now because our store is closed. So there's no customers that could see me smoking right now.
Okay.
And one of the things we have to do is the door I just went through, we have to put like a film, like a blackout film from the other side so people can't see in
Right.
because they might turn to stone if they see someone smoking a joint or something, right? They're in a pot stroke. But that's the law. So we have to put the film on the windows, and we're gonna have some signage out there too to show like that we've got a calendar out there. The people walk by this place to leave the building from the store. Everyone will see like in a couple of days we're gonna have like some coming soon signs and um like showing the hemp drinks and the stage and the bongs and like that's like what we have going on in here, bongs, music, hemp drinks, and shenanigans.
So how much like more staffing then are you going to need then having the lounge then open as well?
We will probably need a couple people, but we're looking for people anyway right now.
Yeah.
Um, Mostly some part timers to fill in when people are sick and stuff. But but yeah, like I could see having like one person around during the day. It probably won't be that busy during the day, but then when we have these events for 3 hours, there could be a whole bunch of people in here. I could see needing two or three people in here to keep everyone, moving along. The servers in here will be responsible for like serving hemp drinks, of course, but we can't prepare food, so there's not going to be much of that. There's going to be snacks and stuff that we can serve. It's prepackaged, but hopefully the food truck will deal with that and sell most of the food. But then the servers in here, mostly their responsibility will be to make sure everyone understands how to use the devices, because that's like you know people don't have all these fancy devices that we have in the store in their house. They might be interested in them. They might have one, but they don't have all of them. They're not going to know how to use some of them. So we have to have the most expert level stoner types, that work in our store be the ones in here so they can help make the functioning of the pipes and the bongs happen. And I know just as a consumer going to this one called Rise in Mundelein, Illinois, we kind of modeled it off that one. And just as a consumer, I loved how all the servers were so attentive. And if you wanted them to roll you a joint, they would roll you a joint, or they would show you how to use the devices. And they would show you 100 times if you couldn't figure it out, and they would do it for you. And that's like the real experience of cannabis now. That's what we want. That's what we're here for. We want to be able to offer the real experience and help people, get better at it or learn how to use stuff that they wanted to use. They don't know how. Everything that we sell is going to be like on the rack there. And it's not going to cost it. The only catch is if they're going to smoke in here, they have to buy the weed from 7 Point. Some other places let outside weed in, but that's not really good for business, and it's not really good for people's health because we don't need any accidents in here.
Right.
That's one of the whole points of this, is that it's a safe place to smoke, but it's only safe if the product's safe.
Well, it's also why bars don't allow you to bring in your own alcohol. Like, there's a reason.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. And like the hemp too, we'll be able to sell the hemp. But the other cool thing is that we're going to be able to sell the hemp just like a packaged goods situation. So we're going to have some drinks that won't be available in the area because we know the market, and I'm sourcing stuff from out west that they can like literally ship it through the mail. And we're like going to carry some stuff, but there's no distribution for this in Illinois, so no one's going to be carrying it. So if they're like, oh, I really like that, where can I get it? We can sell that to go. A little 4-pack or 6-pack or a bottle. That'll be good.
But you cannot sell, I guess I'm assuming Illinois law does not allow you to like send anything over like state lines, correct?
No, but those hemp drinks are allowed to be shipped over state lines from the manufacturers to
Okay.
like 37 states where it's legal. So that's why that business is a little different, because we can source that stuff from wherever, and either they are working with like a beer distributor in the big markets that they're in, or they're not, but they could ship it through the mail, and that's fine too. It's probably a little more expensive, but it's just that's how it's going to work in the early days of that business.
Right. So
You know, we're just
do you see that kind of product being like the future kind of, or do you see anything like what's new that's come out that's really kind of got you excited about like
well, all these cannabis drinks and hemp drinks are going to make it easier for people to try things that are non-alcoholic and still be able to have a good time.
yeah,
You know, and if they're new to it, there's a lot of low dose stuff that no one's going to get too high from a little hemp drink. You know, it's real basic, and that's maybe like a good way to get people interested to start. You know, because they're used to drinking something. For us, that's our biggest thing is that we want to educate drinkers to switch over. You know, and I have friends and my wife and stuff that would probably prefer to drink, but now they're trying the cannabis drinks from the dispensary. You know, some of them are actual drinks that you can put on ice, and others are more concentrated, and you could just put them in a LaCroix or a Spindrift, just like a vodka or something. You know, so if that's what it takes to get people to try cannabis, then that's great. You know, that they can start with that, and maybe they'll want to try other things.
yeah, I think that really takes away the stigma. I mean, even though there shouldn't be any, but I think for someone who still has that stigma, you put it in a drink that
Yeah,
like there's very few people that are going to resist that.
right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I've been real successful getting drinkers to try other drinks.
Yeah. And
And
so you said like they range anywhere from what, like 2.5 up to 20? Like
yeah,
20, I'm assuming 20 is a,
some are 100, but they're not necessarily meant to be drank the whole thing
right.
because they'll say, but on the other hand, I know people that will drink 50 or 100 milligrams, you know, but they're 100 milligrams because, you know, the packaging is expensive, but they'll say one capful is like 3 milligrams or something, you know, or one capful is 10 milligrams. So there's always a way to measure it with these drinks, typically,
Yeah. Yeah, in
you know.
Pennsylvania, the problem that we have is it's obviously it's not legalized, but it is medical. So
Yeah.
the problem is though they don't allow edibles. Like it's very, very hard to get
Mm,
edibles.
I forgot about that about Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's all flower, vape,
Yeah.
tincture, stuff like that.
Okay. Well, that sucks.
Yeah, we're getting there. Every other surrounding state around us is legal except Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So,
you'll get it eventually.
yeah, I mean, so I want to know, let's get back to the music part of this conversation. I want to know what's the ideal way for you to listen to music. Are you a headphones guy? Are you a driving in the car? Are you like in a dark room? Are you like with lights? Like, are you on the beach? What do you, what's,
Most of the time when I listen to music, it's in my car because I'm on the road a lot
okay.
because this is 2.5 hours from my house and my apartment's 40 minutes away from here for now at least. So I drive a lot. And with all the shitty news in the world, I listen to CNN a bunch too. But like I've got Pearl Jam radio and the classic vinyl and just, you know, Queens of the Stone Age radio and, you know, that's all I need. Like a couple Sirius XM stations and I'm gonna get like all the stuff I'm looking for. You know, when I am outside in my backyard growing food or gardening or something like that, I listen to music outside in my backyard. But like, I need to really get more educated on the turntable side of it. I've got two daughters in their 20s and they've got turntables now. And, you know, I can surprise them with a fun record here and there. But like, I'm still not operating a turntable anywhere. But, you know, I aspire to be using this real fancy turntable that we have and like listening to good music in it. But I feel like that thing might just end up in here. Not sure yet.
Okay.
But we could always get another turntable. I'm not worried about that.
Right.
but we need to figure out how we're going to be able to have performers be able to perform and hear their music with some kind of an amp and or PA or I'm going to find a local person here that can advise me, and then I could buy that stuff in Chicago, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, or you could just ask Eddie too, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
So, so yeah, like you mentioned Queens of the Stone Age, you mentioned Pearl Jam, like for a concert experience these days, like as an old head, like I'm sure you can relate. It is so frustrating to try and get a concert ticket to, just the whole experience in general. It's just very,
yeah,
very, you know, speak to
yeah.
that and like what you remember and what it is now for you, like how you deal with it.
Well, um, I'm a little unique, I think, because my dad was really interested in live music, and he had a good connection. Someone he worked with had a friend at like Ticketron back then, and the friend would like call his buddy, and like my dad and this guy that he was friends with, they would get a bunch of tickets. I would go with a friend or a date, and I saw Stevie Wonder. I grew up in Detroit, the Jacksons, Earth, Wind, and Fire, in the 80s, Prince. Um, I saw Prince, I'm, and Apollonia together in a little movie theater.
Oh my God.
So I saw all these bands, and then we were like, they had series that they sold at this outdoor venue, and then they added alternative. So there'd be like 6 shows that were alternative. And when that came out at that venue, my dad put in for tickets, and because he had already had so a couple other series, they gave him priority in the lottery. We had like second row for the alternative stuff. And I was just like getting my license. So for some of those, he just gave me the tickets and I went with someone. And so like from an early age, I was had this exposure to live music, but really close, and that made it so I had to keep doing that my whole life, and the the other thing was I became friends with someone whose family owned a lot of venues in high school, and that carried on through college and later in Chicago. And so I was able to get tickets to anything I wanted, really, through this friend. It was really incredible. And since then, I've gone on a couple trips and seen Pearl Jam in other cities and once in Italy. And, that's just like trying to integrate travel with music, but I have no time for that shit anymore. I'm stuck in Danville most of the time, but we're gonna try to bring that kind of fun here,
Yeah.
you know, with comedians and local talent and open mic stuff, so that we could offer some real entertainment in Danville, and hopefully some food because it all kind of works together. The smoking, the entertainment, the music, the food. We're gonna try to make our own fun. I've had different businesses over the years, so I'm just like trying to maximize the situation that we have here because we're just like on this little island of a casino, a bunch of motels, and another dispensary.
Mm.
And there's more and more people going to be coming if there's more things here. So you know, we're meeting with someone next week who built a couple fast food restaurants in town about see if they could buy the property next door to us and build a nice restaurant right next door to us. There's only one restaurant. It's in the casino.
Yeah, nobody wants casino food.
Most people don't want to just stop by and get like a $70 steak just after they buy their weed and spend all their money.
Right. So,
So they just need a couple options here, and then more people will get off the highway if there's signs that say there's restaurants here and not just hotels.
right.
So that's the other goal, is to try and get on some highway signs.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's where all your traffic, or that's literally where all your traffic is.
Yeah, it's all on the interstate, and it's people from Indiana, but it's also people just driving from the north to the south
Yeah.
past us.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I want to know, have you ever played an instrument? And what was your first concert that you went to?
I did play a saxophone when I was like in fifth and sixth grade, but you know, that wasn't the right instrument for me. So no, I never really played an instrument. But my first concert was Three Dog Night at this outdoor music venue where I saw a lot of those shows growing up.
Yeah.
Called It's called Pine Knob. It's still in existence.
Yeah. I've heard of it.
Um, it's a nice venue, and it's like what used to be called Poplar Creek here. It's the same owners. So yeah, I mean, like Bob Seger was from Detroit. I like this outdoor venue. They had these series that my dad had, and it was like the same people came every year. The Beach Boys, Bob Seger and Silver Bullet Band, Neil Diamond, you know. But then when that alternative series hit, I saw In Excess open for the Go Go's. I saw Simple Minds and the Pretenders. Um, you know, together, and like UB40 and the Cars and Howard Jones, and like in the 80s, everyone toured. I saw Van Halen at the bigger venue. I saw Journey, like there was just no end to the concerts back then. Um, Ozzy Osbourne, The Who, everyone was still touring, mostly.
Yeah, it
So,
crushes me that these bands that I talk to now, and a lot of the bands that I talk to are, independent. It just crushes me that like finances is always like the biggest issue for most of them. Like it
yeah,
really sucks that like that can cause creativity to stop,
yeah.
the almighty dollar. Like I mean, speak on that being a creative yourself.
I mean, the money constraints in the cannabis business are impossible. I mean, who's going to invest in a band? I mean, that's got to be the worst thing ever. And they're just like trying to get noticed, but it's I haven't had a lot of time or really even desire to follow a lot of new bands. I'm like set in the bands that I really want to see, that I'll travel even to see them if I could. Right now is not the right time for me to do that, but there are other times I have. And like, you know, that's like, it's fun to get really excited about your favorite band and go see them somewhere else. More about like adventure and experience, and meet the other fans and shop the posters and wait in line. And I love that. I love meeting other Pearl Jam fans and stuff like that. But like, um, seeing some bands not make it, you know, when you thought they could make it, that's kind of a letdown. I'm sure it was for them too. Um, but then other bands that like I was turned on to by co-workers that were 20 years younger than me would be like, um, you got to listen to the CD, and like that was like early Queens of Stone Age when I met them. It's like 20 years ago, and but like they made it. They were just like small rock band from California, but like you know, some of them make it, some of them don't make it. There was this band called Rose Hill Drive. Did you ever hear of them?
I have heard of them. Yeah.
So they're from Boulder,
Okay.
and the Rose Hill Drive was the street these three guys grew up on. It was two brothers and their friend who was their neighbor on Rose Hill Drive, and they they played a show with Pete Townsend, which is how I found out about them. And like I was in love with them. I like followed them around Chicago every time they came, and you could meet those guys and talk to them, but like they did not make it. They just stopped playing, and like I was kind of surprised. But there's got to be a gazillion stories like that,
Well, and
you
it's
know?
funny too, like people, it's funny, like the general fan will be like, oh, that artist is 82 and he's still playing. Like a lot of these artists are doing it because they have to, not because they want to.
Yeah,
Like, Willie Nelson had all of those financial issues back in the, like the early 90s. And, like that's why he's still playing. It's not because he wants to.
yeah,
But I think that's just funny, like people forget like there is a financial side to it. They aren't just, creatives that just, show up in cities and play and, there's no money attached to it. It's
yeah. I mean, some of these guys that don't need the money and are still playing. It really is insane that they're still playing, but their fans just fucking go crazy for them. So, like even Axl Rose and Mick Jagger comes to Chicago. I mean, Mick Jagger is so unique. Like his sound is so unique, and he's in great shape. And they're really just so mobile, you know.
yeah,
But then,
we've never seen rock and roll stars be this old, like in the history of rock and roll. Like
yeah,
it's incredible. It really is.
yeah, yeah. Some
So
of
the
them are
new
in good shape.
so I want to hear your take on the new Pearl Jam album. What did you
Um,
like? What did you like?
you know, I don't. I'm not like a real harsh critic on the bands that I like. Um, I like to hear them try to make new music and try different stuff. And all the songs aren't going to be the best song, but all these albums that they put out, there've been like two or three good songs at least on these records that that you can relate to, and that they're sometimes trying to push the envelope, and make new music or make something sound a little punk or Ramon style, and some of these guys that can write music so easily that they have to keep coming out with it. What are they going to do if it's just coming out? Like they have to let people listen to it. They're not going to all be like amazing, but I love to see these people. I still see Robert Plant. I'll still see the Who. I'll still see um,
Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac. But what's his name? Stopped touring with them. It got less
Yeah.
interesting. Um, but yeah, like um, what's it called? I've seen a lot of bands. I've seen just in the last few years, like the Psychedelic Furs and um, the um, I don't know, a whole bunch of old bands that have come back. And
Mhm.
I saw recently, 2 or 3 years ago, I saw Duran Duran. I remember seeing them front row in like '83 or something, like
Mhm.
Simon Le Bon, But it was an interesting show. It was real like '80s style, and they had a couple warm up bands that got you into it. And I mean, it's cool to see things that are you know performed well and done right. And if their voice isn't what it used to be, that's okay. The music is nostalgia, and that's what people want. They want to remember the old concerts that they saw. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
um,
I think the new album is fantastic. Like I was blown away. Like Upper Hand is one of the best songs that I think they've done. Like that
I
song
know I'd have
just
to go listen to the whole album, and then like you'd have to ask me again because it's like I'm just too busy to listen to music
yeah.
for it to be like top of mind, like all those songs. But like, even in the one before, there's a few good songs too. But yeah, no, I agree. They're good and they really work well together. That band, like they all respect each other, and it's not like a dictatorship or anything like that. It's especially in this new album, everyone had a hand in that, in the writing of the music and the development of all the songs. They all really stepped up, and some of the guys that maybe haven't written songs before, they have a couple songs on the album, and you know, it's it's only fun to watch the bands that are having a fun time.
Yeah,
You
because it's
know,
hard.
when
Like you said, it's hard. I mean, being in a band is like being in a family. And I mean, the bands that stay together, like it's just a real testament to them because so many of them don't, or a member
yeah,
leaves or, like yeah, it's pretty crazy.
it's like a business partnership. They're in a marriage. Like they all have problems. Like with the bands and the drugs and stuff, it must be super difficult to work with some of those people. But like they try to stick it out because it's just so incredible what some of them can do. And that's just like why I want to be involved in that. Why like, you know, having a business with a stage in it seems like really refreshing, you know. Maybe we can make some shit happen on it. And who knows what'll happen? Who knows? We're trying to make our space available to any artist that has a reason to use it. We could sell their merch in it. They could do a show here. They could sign autographs. They could have a press release. Like we
Album
have a super
release.
cool
Yeah.
store.
Yeah.
Yeah, album release,
Yeah.
and like we could take all their merch and the record and sell it.
Yeah.
Like they can make all the money and we don't care. But we just want to get involved in the music scene and do cool shit in here for our guests and have good collaborations with other music oriented organizations, whether they're a museum or a band or artist or you know we're probably going to do some graffiti on the side of our wall. One thing I almost forgot to tell you is that this is really coincidental, but like how you're called the music lab, right? But you know what our new lounge is going to be called?
Music lab.
Smoke lab.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep, that's what
Yeah, I
it's
didn't
going to be called.
copyright it. You're good.
Yeah, there is some Illinois like smoke shop that's what they're called, but they're not even going to know about us. They're like in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I saw that there's
Uh,
another 7 Point in Canada. Did you know that?
there's other 7 points in other places, but the problem is that you can't trademark something in cannabis because cannabis is federally illegal. So like you could trademark stuff for hemp that's federally illegal. So we're trying to make a gummy right now with some unique characteristics, and I don't want to give it away,
Yeah, you had to go ahead.
but we applied for a trademark for 4 terms, three of which we were going to be calling the different gummies. Beckham just came out with a line of gummies that are sold in Target, and he used one of the terms that I trademarked, and I filed it way before he did. So they turned him down. I just learned this 2 days ago. So we have like something we have to do now with the trademark office because of David Beckham. And I'm ready to call it even Steven if they'll just be the spokesman person for our gummy product. Him or his wife, his pick.
I mean, he
We
could
could
bend
call
it,
it even. Yeah.
right? So, are we a sports guy at all, or are we just music and weed?
I never really had time or energy to get into all the sports. And I think that growing up in Detroit when I grew up, it was the teams all suck. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Were you a
Wasn't
car guy then?
wasn't big in my house. Not really.
Okay.
I'm just like I'm just like a workaholic. Like I get into these things and I'm trying to, you know, make them work and figure them out, and then I'm on to figuring something else out. Like those are my hobbies. Trying to come up with related business ideas to what I'm doing. Um, I don't know. I love going to see the bands that I like and looking at music art and that like it's just it's like it's all just memorabilia and um, makes you think about all the shows you've seen and which ones were great and fun when you were a kid and over the years and like just even looking at these posters like you see behind me, you know, I haven't seen all the bands, but like I'm looking at Led Zeppelin and Sushi and the Banshees, Prince, Elvis, Lady Gaga. Like I don't know, it's just fun to look at.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Brad, you've started a legacy, and hopefully you can finish it with 7 Point and with anything else you do, man. So I appreciate you joining us on the podcast.
Thank you, Doug, for having us on. It was great to to get the word out about 7 Point. And if anyone wants to send us a message through our website, um, they could inquire at info@sevenpoint.org. And or if they're local and they want to check us out, it's 7point.shop. All our records and accessories and our weed are online, available to browse and pick up in the store.
And open 7 days a week and a 4.8 Google review. How about that?
We'll take it. Thank you.
Ladies and
We try
gentlemen,
hard.
hell yeah. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us. That helps the bands, artists, and owners as well. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear, RAR. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dog. You've been great. This is the Music Lab Podcast.